I didn't realize I had already decided to quit until I heard myself say it out loud. The strange part? I don't even remember making that decision. It just came out of me. I used to think I was a pretty self-aware person. I had a stable job, a routine I followed almost perfectly, and a decent understanding of how I felt most days. Nothing dramatic, nothing confusing, just normal life. Wake up, check my phone, rush through coffee, sit in traffic, show up to work, repeat. If you had asked me back then, I would have said I was in control. Every decision I made felt intentional, logical, thought out. At least that's what I believed. I worked at a mid-sized marketing firm in Chicago. Nothing glamorous, but it paid well and gave me structure. My days were predictable. Meetings, emails, small talk in the break room. I knew what to expect, and somehow that felt safe. There was this quiet comfort in knowing how my day would unfold. But if I'm being honest, there was also something else, a kind of heaviness I couldn't quite explain. It wasn't obvious. It didn't stop me from functioning. It just sat there in the background, like a low hum you only notice when everything else goes silent. I remember thinking it was just stress, or maybe boredom. Everyone feels that, right? So I ignored it. The first time something felt off was during a meeting. It was a regular Tuesday, nothing special. We were reviewing a campaign proposal I had worked on for weeks. I should have felt proud. But when my manager asked me to walk everyone through it, I froze. Not completely. I spoke, I explained the slides, I answered questions, but inside, something felt disconnected. Like I was watching myself do it instead of actually being there. I remember noticing how calm my voice sounded, even though I felt uneasy. And then a thought crossed my mind, quick and quiet. Why does this feel pointless? It caught me off guard, not because it was dramatic, but because it didn't feel like my thought. I brushed it off. Everyone doubts things sometimes. But then it started happening more often. Small moments. I'd open my laptop in the morning and just stare at the screen for a few seconds longer than usual. I'd scroll through emails and feel a subtle resistance, like my mind was dragging behind my actions. Even conversations felt slightly off. People would talk to me and I'd respond, but there was this delay, like I was choosing words half a second too late. Nothing obvious, nothing anyone else would notice, but I felt it. And the strange part was, I didn't question it. I adapted to it. One evening, I was sitting in my car after work, engine off, hands still on the steering wheel. I don't know why I hadn't gotten out yet. I just sat there. And then I noticed something. I had driven home without remembering the drive. No traffic lights, no turns, no decisions, just autopilot. That's when it hit me. How much of my life am I actually choosing? It wasn't a dramatic realization, more like a quiet discomfort settling in. A few days later, I met up with an old friend, Daniel. We hadn't seen each other in a while, so we kept things casual. Coffee, catching up, talking about work and life. At some point, he asked me a simple question. Do you like what you're doing? I gave the usual answer. Yeah, it's good, stable, I can't complain. He nodded, but didn't say anything. And then he just looked at me. Not in a judgmental way, just waiting. It made me uncomfortable. So I added, I mean, it's not perfect, but no job is, right? Still, he didn't respond. That silence felt heavier than any question. And then, without planning to, I said, I think I might quit. The moment the words left my mouth, I felt this strange mix of relief and confusion. Relief because something true had finally surfaced. confusion because I didn't remember deciding that. Daniel leaned back slightly. "Okay," he said. "Why?" I opened my mouth to answer, but nothing came out because I didn't know. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Why did I say that? Where did that come from? I tried to reason it out. Maybe I was just tired. Maybe it was a passing thought. But it didn't feel random. It felt accurate. Like something inside me had been building quietly, waiting for the right moment to speak. And it finally did. Over the next few days, I started paying attention. Not to what I was doing, but to what I was thinking before I did it. And that's when things got uncomfortable. I noticed how often I checked my phone without deciding to. How I opened social media the second I felt even slightly bored. How I avoided certain tasks, not because they were hard, but because something in me resisted them. And the worst part was, I couldn't explain why. It's like my actions were being guided by something just beneath the surface, something I wasn't fully aware of. One morning, I sat at my desk and didn't open my laptop right away. Instead, I just sat there and watched my thoughts. At first, nothing. Then slowly, they started to appear. I don't feel like doing this today. This doesn't matter. What's the point? They weren't loud. They weren't dramatic, but they were consistent. And they had been there for a long time. I just hadn't stopped long enough to hear them. That's when I realized something uncomfortable. I hadn't been making decisions. I was following patterns, automatic reactions, habits built over time, assumptions I never questioned. And underneath all of that, a set of beliefs I didn't even know I had. I started tracing them back. Why did I stay in that job? Because it was safe. Why did I believe safety was more important than anything else? Because I was afraid of uncertainty. And where did that fear come from? That part took longer to answer. But eventually, I remembered. Growing up, I saw what instability looked like. My dad changed jobs constantly. Money was unpredictable. There was always this tension in the house, never knowing what would happen next. I told myself, quietly, without realizing it, stability is everything. And I built my life around that belief. Not consciously, but consistently. So when I chose my job, it wasn't really a choice. It was a response, a reaction to something deeper. And when I stayed, even when it didn't feel right, it wasn't because I wanted to. It was because a part of me was trying to protect me. That realization changed something. Not instantly, not dramatically, but enough. A week later, I sat down with my manager. I didn't overthink it this time. I didn't rehearse what to say. I just spoke. I think I need to leave. This time, it felt different. Not impulsive, not confusing, just clear. The days that followed weren't easy. There was doubt, second guessing, moments where I wondered if I had made a mistake. But there was also something new. Awareness. I started noticing my thoughts more, questioning them, not blindly following every impulse or assumption. And slowly, I began to understand something. Your subconscious doesn't shout. It doesn't force you. It nudges you. Quietly, consistently, through feelings you can't explain, through resistance you ignore, through thoughts that don't feel important until they are. Most of my life, I thought I was in control, but I was really just responding to patterns I didn't question, decisions I never realized I had already made, beliefs I didn't even know I was carrying. And the strange part is, nothing about my life looked wrong from the outside. That's what makes it so easy to miss. Now, I still make decisions, but I don't assume they're all conscious. Sometimes I pause. Sometimes I ask myself, where is this coming from?
Not every answer is clear, but the question itself changes things. Because once you start noticing it, you can't unsee it. And maybe that's the real shift. Not controlling your subconscious, but finally becoming aware of it. Because if you don't question what's quietly guiding you, how do you know you're really choosing anything at all?